Hey, what is up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing my episode 4 of She-Hulk. So, just to start off, I'm gonna say that this episode was better than episode 3, in my opinion. It felt a little more attached. I did I like the humor a little bit better, and a little bit more to the story. Needless to say, I still found some things cringe, and the problem is, I think the writing is just not quite up to par with where it needs to be. So let's get into a little bit. So we have a Donnie Blaze, who is this. He essentially got kicked out of Camertage for using his powers incorrectly, and he's this just lowly sort of magician who he essentially sends this person into another dimension, Madison, with two N's and a Y, but not where you think. God, oh God, it was nothing, into another dimension, and then she comes and goes into meets up with Wong at some point, and you know while he's watching Sopranos, he's jamming out to it, and there's a big it's a big episode, which if you've seen it, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but yeah, needless to say, she spoils it for him, and he's so mad that he goes to Walters to cease and desist for his misuse of magic. So, so what did I think? Did I like Madison? My gosh, by herself, it was completely cringe. Like again, it's this drunk girl, being goofy and whatever, just always drunk. But I don't know what it was when she is with Wong, or Wongers as she calls him. She is, I don't know. I like it. I liked it. I know that there are a lot of people that didn't like it, but I also know there's a ton of people who absolutely loved it. Twitter got really weird on it and totally just shipped them together. And I'm just like, it was good for an episode. Please don't drag this out, because good grief, because unless you're going to do something interesting with it, it's just like, yeah, it's funny for an episode, but please just don't drag this out, because it was cringy. But for the episode, it was pretty cool in some respects. I mean, good grief. She runs into him. She's like covered in blood. She's carrying a heart. She was teleported to this land of ogres and fire, and ran to this goat, Eric, I guess, who I believe that was the goat's name, who got her out of there, but she had to give 6 drops of blood. It was ridiculous. For some reason, I liked it though, but yeah, her by herself, it was just like, oh God, we're doing the drunk female routine. Oh God. Um, let's see. There's also a point of her in the dating scene, online dating. Um, oh God, I can see what they were trying to do. Like, I've been there. I'm 38. I've done the whole Tinder dating thing, and man, you get some freaking weird and ultimately very disappointing dates when you're on Tinder. It's not fun. Um, but every once in a while you can snag something. But anyway, just like all the guys she's going with, just so over the top. And again, I see what they're doing, but it's just there's no nuance. There's absolutely no subtlety. It's just so guys are creepy, and yes, they are. Like again, I get it. I get what they're trying to do, but it just it was portrayed just so over the top. And I was just like, good grief. And then just the whole explaining of, the Tinder of Marble, which is Matcher. Uh, it, like her friend going through and be just like, for every, she sets up her profile or looks at her profile and then immediately just starts, match, 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 match. And like every 30, you're going to get one. And there you go. It's just like, for a guy, yeah, maybe. If you're on, like anyone who knows Tinder, like 80% of it, if not more, is just really thirsty, like men just looking to get laid, you know. So women, they get their pick of the litter essentially. They get whoever they want because they'll always get tons of matches. And honestly, I refuse to accept that, Jennifer Walters would not get a single match. Like she would be getting hit up. I do believe that, She-Hulk would get blown up. Like, that it's just sort of a thing. I mean, I personally wouldn't be for it, but you know what? I do know a few people who would be all about that because they like the big women. Um, so I don't know how realistic that really is. Some of her dates, it was again super cringy. You have you know she goes on one as Jennifer Walters, and he's kind of talking, and then he disappears on his phone, not really listening, even though she's telling him that she's a superhero. Then he walks off, and he goes like, "She's a six at best." It's just like, okay. I mean, everyone has their type, but geez, man, like that is just ugh. But I mean, that is also Tinder date. I've been through similar situations. It just sucks. Dating sucks. Tinder dating can suck a lot more. Anyway, uh, then there's one guy who's not just totally gross, who's not listens and like, I don't really like talking about myself, so why don't you tell me a bit about yours? Just like the perfect guy, and she just falls head over heels, and oh my god. And yeah, like I said, I see what they're trying to do, and there was some funniness to it, but most of that aspect of the episode was just super cringy, where I just don't think the writers were necessarily created good enough material to like do it adequately and still make it funny. Um, and then at the beginning, there's a lot of immediately with a fourth wall break, um, where she's just like a lot of happy faces last week because they saw Wong, and Wong does make everything better. I love Wong. He's amazing. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Uh, it's just like, well, that just gave us a Twitter shield for this week, and I'm just things like that. I'm just like, it's like they're intentionally writing to hate the trolls, and it just feeds more backlash. It's like this feedback loop that just builds up and builds up and builds up, and they just feed into it, and it's just like, come on, can you just make a show without like antagonizing people who are going to be antagonized anyway, and blow stuff way out of proportion because it's super dumb. It's it's ridiculous. Um, as for the courts, see, like, I don't understand, and I know they state it as he says, he wants to make an example of him, but again, like, why again wouldn't he just take the ring? Like, this is like that. It's so it. I think it does Wong a disservice because it makes him out to be like the more gutless than he actually is. Like, he's a sorcerer supreme for God's sake. He could easily nip this in the bud in like 2 seconds. Let alone how the guy got to keep his ring in the first, or his, yeah, whatever thing for his hand in the first place. So yeah, it's dumb. Uh, but I was amused at his magic tricks. Um, I the court scene, it was it was so ridiculous. Like, I they try to put an injunction to prevent him from actually using magic while the judge makes her decision. But my God, this judge is so God. So many of the characters, they drive me crazy because it's literally like they're written for small dumb children, and I'm just like, come on, treat your audience like it has a modicum of intelligence. Like, in the first place, just like, why is this negligent? It's just like, are you serious? He literally sent a woman into another dimension, and then she teleports into my place across the country with a bloody heart in her hand, blood all over her. How is that not negligent? Oh my gosh. Like, things like that drive me crazy. And again, I get they admitted that they're not experienced with writing crime shows. Bring someone in. Like, come on. That is a big cop out, and I, there's no way you couldn't get help for this. Like, come on. And then while pondering whether or not to grant the injunction, he impresses her by summoning a rabbit. And he's and she's just like, "Oh," and it's just like, "No, I'm not going to do it." Oh my gosh. It drove me crazy. Like, that is not good level of writing. Plain and simple. I'm sorry, but yeah, there it is. The writing was just not that great. I did like the scene before that where they served him the papers for an injunction, and he's just like, "Vanit, what injunction?" It's like, "I can see it in your shirt." It's like, "No." Shoves it back in. Yeah, his assistant is something else. But yeah, both him, his assistant, and the lawyer are in the courtroom. And there comes a point where it's just like, not real magic. And they're just like, "What?" And they all start to do magic. Just these terrible tricks. Oh, man. And while there's like even comments, it's like, even the lawyer's a magician. Oh my God. Like, I'm probably laughing more explaining this than while I was actually watching it because I just feel the execution just wasn't there in the writing. But I mean, the concept itself is absolutely hilarious. It's, oh my gosh. Absolutely great. So, anyway, so he's doing the show again, and the drunk girl, different drunk girl, but drunk girl again goes up there, and she refuses to go into his strange fire hole. She calls it, um, and And yeah, I'm kind of going into the breakdown right now, which is kind of unfortunate, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see where we go from here. But anyway, he summons a bird, which lays an egg, which has a demon come out, and then he sends it away, but he doesn't close the portal. So now multiple demons are coming out, so he has to go get Wong, and Wong has to save the day. We'll get into that. Um, but yeah, I found the magician. Parts of it were cringe, parts of it were funny. More funny in concept than in actual execution is how I felt it worked out. Unfortunately, again, I just don't think the writers have the skill to fully execute the humor that they're trying to go for because again they are trying to go for lighthearted and comical, but a lot of the jokes aren't quite getting there. Um, and and I hate how they do some of the characters here. It's just crazy. I absolutely love Walter's dad though. he's he's amazing. He comes in, he's gonna beef up his security, and then he has a shovel. Asks if she went to the police. It's just like they said police stuff. You didn't go. Just like I'm the Hulk. I can handle it. What if someone tries to attack you again? Then I'll handle it, and then you get to use the shovel. But yeah, I love the dad character. He's great. So anyway, the fight with the demons, I did enjoy. There was some fourth wall break. Like she's complaining about her date, which was going well, and then she felt it was ruined. Again, while fighting all of this, and I'm just like, you're kind of taking me out of it. Like, and it's not the fourth wall breaking per se. It's the context in which it's happening, which I mean, I guess they're making light of it, whatever. But I don't know. It just it didn't work for me personally. So anyway, and then we finally get to where I'm hoping is going to be like the main enemy, villain, whatever. Tatiana is freed, and now she's filing a lawsuit because she trademarked the name She Hulk before She Hulk was She Hulk. And so we'll see where that goes. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm hoping that this sort of goes into more of a thread that goes through the series. We'll see. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. A little bit more of a breakdown than I intended, but we'll go into a full breakdown here in a minute. What would I give this? I did enjoy it more than again last one. I gave a 5 out of 10 for the last one. This one I think I'm going to give a 6, um, because again I just don't think that the writing is there. I hate how they portray a lot of the characters. They're just so over the top. Um, but I did think it was funnier. Um, I did like Madison and Wong. It was great. Uh, and while everything is relatively low stakes, um, I like that. The CGI. I mean, I think that's just something we're all gonna have to deal with until this series is over. Like, there were some parts where it looks fine, and then other parts where it just looks absolutely atrocious. And I don't know. I'm, it's something that I'll probably that I'll mention, but I'm not going to go too deeply into. Like the CGI is just not great in this series, unfortunately. She just doesn't look great in a lot of the scenes she's in as She-Hulk. So anyway, 6 out of 10. I just wish they would get more help with the writing on this because the writers aren't quite doing it because they have these amazing concepts and I love the concepts. Like I love the concept of this show. I love, individual elements within the shows. You know, on paper they sound really great, but when they're executing them in the writing, it just it's not as funny as it could be. And I just don't feel it. And then just what they do to some of the characters, like the portrayal of, especially men. I mean, they did kind of make fun of women, like the drunk woohoo girls, whatever, in this one, but yeah, it's just, and then the whole Twitter shield comment, like it's like they're intentionally writing to antagonize the trolls, which does nothing, but it's whatever. So again, 6 out of 10. I'm still enjoying this series. I just want more from it. Is kind of what I'm getting at with it. So a little above average. I did like the humor, so yeah. Um, so just let's break it down. So once again, we went into the whole thing of Mystic Castle and Donnie Blaze and the owner Cornelius P. Willows. Um, but anyway, yeah. So where did it break up? So yeah, she gets teleports in. He launches the injection, which again I just don't get why they had to do this convoluted thing when it could have easily been something simple and something where you don't have to suspend your disbelief. But it's just, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we went into the whole, they deliver the injunction, and okay, so the profile on the dating app, Matcher. So she first uses her corporate photo, which again, I don't understand why she wouldn't get any match. Like that's not how that's not how these sites work. I'm sorry, if you're a woman, you're getting matches. It doesn't matter. You're getting matches, and it just blows my mind how she wouldn't get any matches. I if you're a dude, that's how it's like, yeah. But no, you just need one or two good picks and you're set. But of course, then she goes, and then her friend, which I believe is, from what I've read, is bi, I guess, is what some of the things I've been reading is, that she's bi, but sort of settling that with a line. It's just like hetero dating, something like that. Hetero life is dire, something like that. So yeah, there's that. But man, she has a lot of weird dates. I talked about the first date where she was as well, but then as She-Hulk, another like crazy, like you have a dude who's just like, oh, you're like the perfect specimen, and asking her about like superpowers, and it's just like, oh my gosh, am I just an object? Jeez. And then there's one guy from New York. Like I don't know anyone from New York, but I do have a friend from Chicago they also are like, and again he was only there for like a year for school, and you, oh my gosh, just shut up. So that one I did kind of get. But yeah, that's a personal thing. Like if you didn't get, yeah, so And then there's a guy who's clearly like the bro dude, the bro man. It's just like, yo, can we get some service over here? And it's just like, oh God, alpha males. I personally do not like alpha males because their egos are about as big as a house and about as thin as a playing card. It's ridiculous. But then she finds this guy. He's a doctor. He listens. He's like so perfect, and she falls head over heels with him, and it's just like, ugh. Like, I found it cringy because again, it's just so over the top. The writing is just so on the nose that it's just like this is so unrealistic. But yeah, she goes home with him, and things are going well. She goes, and she's talking, and Wong comes out, and because he's fighting these demons because Blaze can't handle him. So he portals in, gets Wong, and then Wong gets her, and then it's just like, pulls her out. It's just like, God, I feel like your dad. I love Wong. I will never stop loving Wong, and anything that he's in is just amazing. I don't care. Sue me. But yeah, then we have the fourth wall break there, which that one kind of bothered me a bit because again, context. I don't mind the fourth wall breaking. In fact, I honestly think it's one of the better parts of this show, to be honest, when it comes to writing, because normally it's done in appropriate times in appropriate context. This did not feel appropriate, to be honest, but that's just me personally. So they deal with it. She keeps one, but before she sends it into the dimension, she's just like, are you gonna obey the terms of your injunction? And of course they're both just like, yes, yes, yes. So that takes care of that. And then she goes back, falls on top of the dude, and has sex with him off screen. And you know what? More power to her, whatever. But then the next day she wakes up, she's her. He walks in on her, and it's just like, oh, who are you? I'm Jen. Not as She-Hulk. And she made breakfast and everything. He's just like, I'm just gonna leave. Don't worry about the sweater, because she spilled wine on it, and threw it out because she knew she was gonna get laid that night. But anyway, and I don't know how I think about that. Like I know that there are guys who would walk out after sleeping with a girl, but I mean, especially a guy like that, I'm just, man, that is that is cold. That is like so. Oh wow. Ugh. But anyway, on the TV, Tatiana is freed, and then she files a lawsuit against her for having the name She-Hulk, and it's just like, bummer way to end an episode, and another fourth wall break. So yeah, ultimately, hopefully it starts to go somewhere. I mean, it better. We're almost halfway done with this season. So I will say I did enjoy the length. This was one of the longer ones. This one ran about 37 minutes, 40 minutes if you include the credits. But, yeah, some longer episodes would be appreciated to actually feed a little bit more into things. I felt like the other 3 episodes were a bit too short for my liking. This one I did like the length, so. And then we go into the after credit scene, which is Madison hanging out with Wongers, and she's talking about what drinks they've had, what drinks has he had, and he goes into what is his favorite drink, gin and tonic. So Wong's favorite drink is gin and tonic. And then we go into what is it, vodka and yak's milk or something like that. It's just so bizarre. But I actually enjoyed that scene. It's not, again, unless they can do something in depth and meaningful with it, I hope they don't go more into it than that. But I did enjoy it for what it was. So that's where we get. Well, anyway, that's my thoughts on this episode. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.